and thank you for tuning in to the Rangers Rabble. Before we get to the content, I would just like to let you know about a brand new sponsor that we have, Rangers Pools. For every £1 that you spend, you help support the building of the new Edmiston House. And if you sign up with the code Rangers Rabble Podcast, you're also helping the podcast as well. So, Wilf, I know that you've used Rangers Pools before.
I have indeed, Martin. I use it every week. I've got two lines on the direct debit. I play every week. It's very easy to navigate. You just go on, make yourself an account, go onto the pools page. You can either do it weekly or, as I do, just with a standing order of numbers. It's from memory. I think it's 10. The first 10 games you think are going to be score draws in the coupon every week. But football's that random. I just said, right, that'll be 10 numbers. That'll be 10 numbers. There's my £2 every week, and let's just see what happens.
We'll see, there you go. So it's dead easy to use. And of course, if you do sign up in the support of branch agency, if you just put in Rangers Rabble Podcast, you're helping support Rangers, support the building of the new Edmiston House, but you're also helping to support the Rangers Rabble Podcast. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the content.
Hello and welcome to the Rangers Rabble Aberdeen preview. To be honest with you, I don't know how much we'll actually talk about the Aberdeen game preview. In all honesty, it'll probably just spiral into what's going to happen tomorrow, but we'll try and start off in the right manner and see how long it lasts. Right, obviously last game of the season at Ibrox against Aberdeen. One more game, if we can see it through, we'll be undefeated. How excited are you ahead of tomorrow's game, Cammy?
To be honest, I feel like my kids must do it on Christmas Eve. It's counting the hours. It's been a super long day today. Just want to get 12:30 tomorrow, get the game over with. And to be honest with you, I think what happens after is what we're all excited about. Seeing Tav lifting that trophy and seeing the gaffer and all the players enjoying the fruits of their efforts over the last 9 months. It'd be good to give Aberdeen a doing, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I think we all feel that way. I think if we end the season in the right manner, that would just make it that little bit extra special. Graeme, what about yourself? Are you looking forward to the game?
Aye, mate, I'm really looking forward to it. It feels as if I've missed the last game because I was working, so I'm looking forward to actually watching it for a change. Looking forward to it, mate. Hopefully keep the unbeaten run in the season on a high.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, isn't it? We just want to push on now and get this last game out of the way. It sort of feels like it's like the smallest part of the day, really. We just want the team to go out and kind of blow them away in the first 15-20 minutes, and then we can just enjoy the rest of the game and see what happens outside the ground. I mean, I'm going to be like yourself. I'm actually working tomorrow, so I'm not actually going to get to see much yet to start off with. But once I get home from work, I'll be sure to open a few beers and enjoy myself and watch some of the celebrations. Hope the guys enjoy themselves. Scotty Young, what are you looking most forward to for the game tomorrow against Aberdeen?
Obviously, what's going to happen after the game is the most important. But I do want to go the season unbeaten. That was kind of what I had my eye set on since January, February time, was going unbeaten. And if we can give Aberdeen a doing, as Cammy said, do that tomorrow and then round the season off by lifting 55. It'd just be a perfect day to end a almost perfect season.
Yeah, that all sounds good to me, guys. That would definitely please me a lot if we were to go and win the game, finish the season undefeated, and then everybody can enjoy themselves. I noticed today in some of the pictures where the players were training at Ibrox that Niko Katic was back. How good is that for everybody to see? I'll come to you first, Graeme.
It's great to see. Some people probably forgot about him because he's not been there all season, but he's a cult hero, so it'll be good to see him enjoy the celebrations and back over at Ibrox. And more importantly, back training with Oxford with the group. So a good pre-season. He should be a lot of new signing next year.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's great to see him back. I thought it was interesting when I looked at Cat. He says he looked as though he kind of toned down a little bit. So I don't know if that's maybe been something they've spoke to him about. Maybe when he came back last summer, he looked like a bodybuilder. Whereas this time he just looks very, kind of well built. He looks like he's been keeping himself fit. He's looking very sharp. What's the kind of thought process with with Katic? Would you maybe sit him on the bench, but knowing that he's not coming on, just to kind of like sort of give him that feel, Cammy?
I'm delighted. Those pictures were fantastic, to be honest with you, because I know he's had a tough rehab, but to see him back on the grass, I think fantastic. I think just being around about the players, I mean, for his mental state, I think he's spent an awful lot of his time in Croatia over the last 9 months, you know. So I think he'll be buzzing just to be back amongst the group. I don't see him being involved on the bench, although we will probably have space for the extra bodies. I think the gaffer's made it pretty clear he doesn't have any qualms about having less than the allowed number of substitutes. But Niko Katic back for the first day of pre-season will be fantastic. Well, it's going to take him a wee bit of time, obviously, after so long out. But it was interesting, like you said, he came back last summer like the Incredible Hulk, you know, and I think he then obviously got the terrible injury, but I think he does look a bit leaner, sort of thing, you know. Whilst he still looks massive, and he could probably pick me up with his right hand, sort of thing, you know. It's brilliant to see him back, but I think it'll be maybe get him minutes in the pre-season friendlies whenever they may be. Yeah,
well, I think obviously the biggest news the last couple of days is obviously the manager doubling down on the trophies. You know, is that something that you expected the manager to win both of those, or did you think maybe that somebody like Callum Davison might have won one of them, Scott Young?
Yeah, I was expecting, because 4 of our players getting nominated for Player of the Year and Player of the Year, I expect them to sort of cushion that. I expect that to sort of cushion for giving Callum Davidson one of the Manager of the Year. But I think Gerrard well deserves both awards. I think Davidson's had a great second half of the season, winning the League Cup, Scottish Cup final, getting St John's top 6. But when Gerrard went full season unbeaten, you can't really argue. I think St John's were bottom at Christmas, or bottom in November at some point. So manager of the seasons is August to May, and Gerrard hasn't lost a game, so I can't see any argument for it not being Gerrard.
No, and I think the biggest thing is, like, sort of when you generally look at who wins like Manager of the Year, whether it's from the writers or whether it's from, you know, like the sort of fellow professionals, you tend to find that a lot of it is looked at towards the league. I know the cups are obviously great if you can win the cups. Clearly, that's a big thing for St Johnstone. But when you've went 37 games undefeated and you've played the football we have this season, I think it's hard to kind of say otherwise that it shouldn't be Steven Gerrard. What about you, Graham? What was the kind of standout moment for you this year with Steven Gerrard?
The change, I think, in Gerrard for press conferences and after beating Celtic was a big thing for me, because that said that he was more calm and just doing his talking on the pitch rather than celebrations at Parkhead when he kind of went mental. That was great to see as well. It shows that he loved it, but the calm, I like the calmness, and that showed a maturity in his coaching and his managerial career, and steadied him in good stead going forward. That was a big thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest changes you've noticed. Like, sort of his demeanour on the side of the touchline's changed, and I think it's just a matter of experience, isn't it? It's like the guy's been here for a few years now. Don't get me wrong, I think we were all buzzing when we won at Parkhead and we saw him running down towards the fans and the excitement, because we all felt the same way, and it felt like he understood how we felt that day after all the pain we'd been through for years. But I think this season it's just been like a sole focus on winning this league title, and that's obviously what he's done. Do you think in a couple of years' time the manager will look back and see this as extra special, or is it just this is just the start of something, Cammy?
I think he said it back in March when we clinched the title, that it's great to win this title. It's the 55th title, but we need to retain this title. All great Rangers teams have followed up success with more than one title. You know, I'm not talking 9 in a row, 10 in a row, that sort of stuff. But we have a solid foundation on and off the park, with good recruitment across the summer. We'll go into next season firm favourites to win the title again, and I think that will be this once the gaffer and these players get the 5 or 6 weeks break that they all deserve. they'll come back first day pre-season, and that'll be their sole focus. I think retaining the title and getting into the Champions League group stages, they are the main priorities even now for next season. But I mean, that he'll go down in history as the manager that delivered this famous title, and it's I think he's been very I think his pressers and his post-match interviews and everything have been superb across the season. He hasn't got overexcited. I think you guys say that he's just gaining experience, and I think he's only going to get better as a manager, and that can only be a good thing for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that's maybe something that maybe we sort of forget. Like, the manager's only really been a manager at Rangers, really. Like, our expectations are probably higher than most when it's running games of football. And I think you've just seen a kind of gradual sort of evolution in the manager in terms of how he's come in, how he's developed. And you look at him now and you just think another year or two at Rangers, another couple of league titles, hopefully maybe a cup as well, a couple of cups. It's just going to take it to that next level. And as Cammy points out, the Champions League, if we can just get one season of Champions League, that's just such a monumental thing. If we could get in this year and manage to win the league again, back-to-back Champions League money takes us to a level that we've not been at for a long, long time. And it's something that would move the club forward so much quicker than we could ever have expected, even in the last couple of years. I mean, obviously the Europa League money's been great, but the Champions League money is just like another hemisphere, isn't it? When you look at that money, Scott, what would you do if the manager's given, a decent transfer kit in the summer? Where do you think we need to add?
I think first place I'd look at is centre park. Ryan Jack cover more than anything. Because I feel when Ryan Jack hasn't played and it's been Aribo or Hadji in the middle of the park, we don't have that defensive cut. We don't have that strong defensive presence. So Davies and Kamara work that, and maybe Arthur when he's played, but no one does the role like Ryan Jack.
Yeah.
If we can get Ryan Jack covering, then I think that's key. And I was going to say a right winger as well, but Sakala can play out on the right. So maybe a right winger, maybe an out-and-out right winger, because I think he's more of a striker. But yeah, probably middle of the park and on the right wing is my two key areas to look at.
Yeah, what about yourself, mate? Where are the positions that you think that you need to strengthen over the summer in particular?
I totally agree with Scott there about someone that can do the Ryan Jack role, and just in case he's played up with injuries again. But the other position I would look at is maybe left back, just depending on what Barisic does this summer. If he's a good Euros, hopefully he's fit and plays a lot of the games, he could maybe be a big sale for us. So we definitely need a first choice left back. I don't think Daffy's ready for that.
Right.
And obviously it just really depends on who goes. But I've got a funny feeling as well that Rangers might evolve tactically as well and use a second tactic as well, especially for the Champions League and stuff like that, which could help bring in different players as well. So it's just see what happens in the summer. Look forward to it.
Yeah, I thought that was actually quite interesting. Like, you talk about the tactical side of things. I was actually listening to a pod the other day, and it was one of the chairmen down in England, and he was saying basically at the start of every summer he sits down with the manager and they discuss the 2 or 3 formations that they're going to use during the season, and that's how they basically look to sign their players. So if they're going to use wing backs, then they know they'll need 4 wing backs. If they're going to play a system with 2 full backs, 2 wingers, they'll need to go out and do that. So it'll be interesting this summer if we do see maybe a slight change for the manager in terms of how we're going to play. I do think we are still a better team suited for Europe in a lot of ways, and I think the addition of Sakala just adds even more to that. The pace on the counter-attack for me is a big thing. But what about yourself, Cammy? Where do you feel is the positions that really need filled in the summer?
I agree with the guys. I think a lot depends on if we were to keep the current squad in place, which I don't think will happen. The middle of the park needs reinforcements. I'm slightly different to Graeme and Scott. I would like a more sort of dynamic midfield player, a more box-to-box player that can... I still think we lack goals for the middle of the park. Back to the days of Alberts and Van Bronckhorst and guys like that, guys that gave you 10, 12 goals for the middle of the park. You know, I would like a Scott Arfield, but 6 or 7 years younger, sort of thing. That sort of situation. I think for a starting 11 place, I think the problem that we've got is that players are undoubtedly going to leave, but I do believe that the club already know who those players are, or they have a good indication that Barisic or Kamara or Morelos or whoever it may be. I'm sure that the recruitment and Ross Wilson know, but I think definitely the middle of the park, because I think at times we've asked a heck of a lot of Stephen Davis and Glenn Kamara, particularly in the second half. But middle of the park, I think to go into Europe, I think that was the one thing that the game where we got knocked out, I think showed that we just lacked a wee bit of guile and a wee bit of quality in that area.
Right. No.
I'm muted and I started a big spiel there. I'm just going to get to some of the comments that have come in, William.
All right, mate.
We've got Aldo McNaughty says, one more sleep, I am buzzing like a Wayne at Crimble. We've got Stephanie Cameron, I wonder who that is. Callum says, hi Daddy, he can't wait to see Buffalo lift the trophy tomorrow. I was expecting to see Cammy cry after he's seen that. We've got Ross 208, I hope we spank Aberdeen tomorrow. I like this one. Name Gary Mack as a sub just for the banter. Probably something I would do. We've got a Facebook user. Good evening, troops. Hope we get to see Jimmy Bell get his hands on the trophy tomorrow. I think we would all love to see that. And just finally, and I'll leave this with you, left back, you've got to consider the boy Doidge at Hibs. So I'll leave that with you. Any more comments, you'll see me very, very shortly.
Yeah, look, I suppose that is an interesting one. You know, the kid's obviously now up for Young Player of the Year. I'm obviously a bit kind of, you know, so I look at James Maxwell and see a lot of ability in James. So I'm kind of 50-50 on bringing in another left back when we've got a really talented young player coming through. If we were to lose Barisic, do you think we need to go out and sign an experienced international player? Or do you think that we look maybe to try and like sort of promote somebody early like James Maxwell? Or do you think that's too early, Scott Young?
I'd say it's probably too early. I'd look at what we've done with Tav and Patterson this season and maybe do something like that with, if it's not Barisic, more experienced left back, and Maxwell coming in for the cup games if Barisic is injured, start Maxwell instead of Bassey possibly. I would say it's too early to shove Maxwell in first choice in a team that's defending a title, defending an unbeaten run and going into the Champions League. I think if that doesn't work out, that could almost ruin the boy. Like we saw it with Miles Bierman a few years ago. He came in, done okay at the start, and then screwed up against Celtic, and we don't know what happened to him since. So I think we do need a more experienced left back in the now. Name doesn't come off top. Maybe Doig is the option, but again, he's 21, 22. So I'd say probably go out and sign a more experienced left back now.
I'm pretty sure Doig is only about 18 or 19, to be honest. I'm pretty sure he's still kind of round about that age. So, you know, that would be one of those decisions that, you know, if you did go out and try and sign him, then I think it would all but, you know, be difficult for Bassey or Maxwell to get in the team at that point. So that's where the manager's got to look at, you know, the right type of left back. So I think that's obviously a big decision if the manager does go out to try and recruit somebody like that. I'll come to you, Cammy.
I think, to be honest with you, that Doig needs to stay at Hibs for his own development. I mean, I think Hibs are obviously short of cash. They knocked back offers for the big donkey at the back and Kevin Nisbet. So they will cash in on. I would say Nisbet's probably the one that they'll probably get maybe $3 million for. He's a player I would like us to take a punt on, but certainly not at £3 million. Doig, for me, I think he just stays at Hibs and he develops, keeps playing games. He gets the 30-40 games next season, and then next summer he might be a different situation. James Maxwell, I mean, we've spoke about it privately, William. I think that the next stage in his development is a move to a top flight side. I mean, I'd mentioned Hearts as an option. I think fans back in the stadium, you know, a good level of expectation and pressure. I think that would be an ideal next loan. Borna, I do expect to go this summer, so I would be looking for a whether it's an international left back or, I mean, I spoke to somebody, the boy Barry Douglas, the Scottish boy that's potentially at Leeds now. I don't think he's had much games under Bielsa, but somebody like that, I don't know if he'd be available. He's always looked decent in games prior to his move to Leeds, but I think it needs to be a first choice left back that comes in, because Bassey is still very raw, and Maxwell, I think, would benefit from a season loan where he can get 25, 30 games.
Yeah. I suppose one of the questions I was going to kind of like sort of sideshow with was, obviously the last couple of years in Europe we've maybe not had enough homegrown players or enough Scottish players to fill the squad. Is that something, Graeme, that we need to look at in the summer, or is it just a matter of you bring the best quality players in that you can?
I think if it's for left back, if Barisic goes, I think it's definitely a first senior left back that we would need. And I wouldn't like to sign Doig, because Maxwell, I think, is good enough, but it's like Cammy says, a year on loan in the Premier League would be the best for him. And plus, Ross Wilson always likes creating pathways. So if as you said earlier, if Doig, we sign him, that's Maxwell's pathway blocked. So I would definitely agree with that. But so I'd say it's definitely a first choice left back if we need it.
Yeah, it's obviously a big summer because, I mean, at the moment we're obviously guessing. We think we kind of roughly know, potentially because of the Euros, Barisic is at that age now where he's probably looking at one big contract, you know, with the rest of his career. If he gets one huge move and earns a big salary, that would obviously be something that he would probably think about. At the end of the day, he's the first choice left back for Croatia. You know, I don't think that was ever something that any has thought about. That first kind of 6 months we watched Borna, we weren't really too sure how he was a Croatian international left back at Rangers. Because, I mean, I know the night, obviously, when he played for Osijek, I think we were all thought, he's a really good player, but then when he rolled up in the Rangers jersey, it seemed like a totally different guy. But then for whatever reason, I think it was the goal against St Mirren, the free kick, it just seemed to spark him, and ever since then he's just been absolutely sensational. But I do think he is possibly one that we might lose in the summer, and then that's a position that has never been easy to fill. Like, left backs are never easy positions to fill. There's not a lot of very good left backs out there, and I think we've seen that over the years. It's not an easy position to go and add someone, but just like Graeme was saying earlier, it always seems like Ross Wilson's got something kind of up his sleeve and he's ready to try and move towards that. Right, we're probably about halfway, maybe slightly more than that through the pod. We're going to obviously look at tomorrow after the game, you know, the excitement for the fans, the feelings, the emotion of what we've been through the last 10 years. What are you looking forward to most, Scott Young? Is it seeing the trophy getting lifted, or is it seeing the supporters celebrate? What is it for you that's going to maybe make you a bit emotional?
For me, it's the trophy, because, to be honest, all I've seen recently, I can remember parts of the Walter Smith 3-in-a-row team, but all I've seen recently is failure, to put it bluntly. Going into my Celtic pals, top at 9, 10 in a row, but just to see Tav lift that trophy tomorrow, it's going to bring all these emotions to the forefront, because we know, as I said, all I've seen is failure, apart from this season, obviously, and to see this season be the success that it has been, it's been unbelievable. And to go unbeaten tomorrow and see Tav lift the trophy, it'll be, as some of the comments say, it'll be a win at Christmas. I don't think I'll sleep tonight.
Graeme, is there anybody in particular that you're excited to see lift the trophy after all these years?
There's only one man for me, and that's Morelos. I'm smiling now just thinking about it. I generally will. That'll be some sight. I hope it goes mental. He does it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, I think there is certain players that maybe for supporters, there's a feeling, you know, like Tav, after all the time he's been at Rangers, he's obviously come through in the Championship. He's been through some of the tough times where he's had to roll up at Ibrox and Parkhead and see us get heavily defeated in Celtic games and stuff like that. So I think this season for him has been extra special. I think he'll be emotional after this one. I think when you put so much into your time at Rangers, people were kind of critical of Tav for a period. People were talking about selling him, that we needed somebody else, and I think for guys like that, it's going to be extra special. What about yourself, Cammy? What are you looking forward to most?
All I can say is, if you're saying that Tav's going to be emotional, that will not help me in the slightest. To be honest with you, and listen, you nailed it there. He's been through some absolute pumpings across the other half of the city. Real low moments where he's lost goals at the back post at Tynecastle, gave goals away at Parkhead, survived Pedro, Murty, Warburton. It's absolutely remarkable, the resilience and the character within him, and that's why. We've joked about it in the group chat and various things this week. That's why he's my player of the year. I know that it's only for this season, but his contribution this season, goals, assists, leadership, seeing the first 3 or 4 months of the season, the goal against Galatasaray where he starts the move. I watched it earlier on. Somebody shared it on Twitter. He starts the move, ping, ping, ping. He's up there at the back post, not knocking it in. That's probably the goal of the season. It's probably no one that sticks out for a lot of people because you think he roofing, what have you. But that sums up Tav in the first 3 or 4 months of the season. He was 9 out of 10. He was scoring. He was the top goal scorer in Scotland at one stage.
I know.
And he's sitting on 19 goals. I hope he scores tomorrow because I think for a Rangers fullback to score 20 goals would be absolutely, it'd be as important as the unbeaten run and the 100 points tomorrow. I think that would be the cherry on the cake. But Morelos is just going to go mental. You just know it. You're watching him at Ibrox today, and he looks. I've never seen him look as happy. And that for me, I hope that he stays and he gets to see a full Ibrox again. But to get back to you, I'm digressing.
It's all right.
I'm excited. Sorry, I'm excited. Tav, 110%. He's the man and the gaffer. I think they're the two people that, and I think the manager might get emotional as well because this is one hell of an achievement for him.
No, I think that's it. I'm not really like an emotional person, really, to be honest with you. I never really have been that kind of guy. And maybe I could I be in the same age as yourself, mate? Obviously, we've seen Rangers be successful, kind of before the kind of last 9-10 years. We've kind of seen the joy and the happiness. I was at Celtic Park when we won the title. Nothing will ever beat that day for me. That's just like a feeling that I don't know if I can actually even put it into words just how I felt that day. But obviously winning the league at Easter Road was brilliant. That was a special day because nobody gave us a chance that day. So that was extra special. But I think tomorrow just means that little bit more to a lot of people just because of what's happened and where we've been, how we've had to come back from some really tough times. And even during the spell coming back, until like Dave King took over and until like the Three Bears come in and all the guys who are now investing in the club, everybody's played a small part in getting the club back to where it is. All the people last season that paid for a season ticket and never got into the stadium, I think tomorrow's for them. And for all the other guys who have bought merchandise that have put money back into the club, everybody deserves a moment of happiness tomorrow. I hope people enjoy themselves. I hope people have a good amount of beer. They can get to celebrate it with their mates, their families. All the kids maybe for the first time get to see a Rangers captain lift that trophy's extra special. I know that I used to get excited when I used to see, like Richard Gord lift the trophy and stuff like that. So for a lot of young kids, getting to see James Tavernier lift that SPFL trophy above his head is going to be something very special and very emotional.
Right, just before you move on, Willie, we've got a few more comments and a question as well, which is going to digress slightly. But I'm going to disappear after I ask it, so I don't need to answer it. We've got a comment for RSC 55. Hello. We've got Brian Harley who was answering Morelos. I think that's when you were talking about who would you most like to see lift the trophy.
Yeah.
Brian again. Got the beer and champagne in for tomorrow. Be a party in Sheffield tomorrow afternoon. I think there'll be parties all over Britain and the world tomorrow afternoon. Again, with RFC 55, 100% we need to get Deutsch and Nisbet. And the question, he also puts in Kamara must sign a new contract ASAP. Now, this is where I'm going to bring it to you. If you force me to sell one key player, it would be Barisic because of his age. And the question I'm going to put to you, Willie, and then disappear is, with the possibility of Champions League football next season, are Rangers in the same position where they have to sell somebody? And that's when I'm going to disappear.
Yeah, thanks for that, Martin. That's really good to just drop that in on us so we can answer that question. No, look, I think a bit like what Cammy said earlier, I think there's a degree of an agreement possibly with certain players that if a certain bid comes in, they might be allowed to leave. But I also think there's another side of it where potentially, if we make it into the Champions League, all those players would potentially stay because that one season in the Champions League, if you get knocked out in the qualifying, then there's obviously that flexibility that somebody could go because you could like kind of cash in on them almost. I'll come to you first then, Graeme. If we had to lose one player in the summer, who would it be and why?
I think it'll be Barisic.
Right.
And the only reason I think is because he is Croatia's number one left back. I think he'll want to try and go at the next level to make sure he keeps it, just in case there's anybody upcoming, maybe superstars in Croatia coming up through the ranks. I think age as well, and maybe we could have possibly a lot of money for him as well. I think he's probably the most besides Morelos. So I'll go Barisic.
Scotty, what about you? Do you think Scott Young, or do you think it might be somebody else?
I was going to go for I don't know if it's an unpopular answer or not, but I'd go with Kamara.
Right.
Because I feel we've got a lot of young players coming through. Stephen Kelly, name comes to mind straight away. And I feel we could get more for Kamara than we could for any other player. I think for Kamara, you're looking early 20s, mid £20 million for him.
Right, okay.
And he's does something different to what most midfielders do. So I feel I'd probably sell Kamara if I had to and get a good kit for him. And obviously, as I said, we get young players like Stephen Kelly and that coming through.
No, I think that's fair. I think after this summer, Glenn's got 2 years. So they say don't let a player get down to his last year because that's when he can just decide he's going to go, just sit it out that last year and become a Bosman. So, if Glenn doesn't re-sign again, then I suppose that is something the club need to think about. I think that's a very valid point. What about yourself, Cammy? Do you think anybody else, or do you think that Barisic and Kamara are the main two?
I think I joked about it in a group chat with, I don't know if it was on our one, but I think that it would be great if Rangers have already got deals done and dusted for the players, and we get the trophy, and then at 5 o'clock they announce Connor Golson has signed an extension, and then maybe at 9 o'clock they announce Glenn Kamara has announced an extension, and that's my wish for the rest of the weekend after we lift the trophy, is that contract extensions are announced. I do think Barisic, he's not even been mentioned in the sort of, we're trying to get Kent signed to an extension because obviously Leeds are interested. I think Hillander's another one going to the Euros. I think it's 2 years into a 4-year contract. Similar sort of situation. It's very, we're all trying to second guess what's probably been going on privately. I just believe that Barisic, his agent, I think about a year ago, was touting him to go to Serie A. We have been trying to get Glenn Kamara signed to an improved contract, and the manager spoke about it on several occasions because I don't think he's not anywhere near the top earner within the dressing room. So I think it's just trying to reward him for that, but also protect the club as well, sort of thing, So they're the two for me, Barisic and Kamara. Although if the weekend passes without Connor Golson having signed an extension, I am starting to worry on that one, because we can't allow a player to go into the last year of their contract. If Golson doesn't sign an extension this in the next few weeks, I would expect him to leave.
No, I think that is. I mean, obviously commented on earlier. I don't think any club likes letting their players get down to the last year, because it then almost allows the player to take control of the situation. And I think that is something that, as a club, because of the business model that we now run, you do have to think at that point that you need to cash in. And I think the Helander one's interesting. I obviously kind of put the kind of message up earlier for GB. He's saying Borna Barisic and Helander. And I think Helander is a fair one. I think we got a great deal for Helander when you look at it. I think we paid him about £2.5-3 million. He's been a fairly steady hand. With him and Golson have been excellent. But I do feel as though we could go into the marketplace and get another centre back if we had to. I don't think that's maybe the position that would worry me most if we were to lose somebody. I do think we could go into the market and get somebody else. The interesting one for me is losing Morelos, because I think we all thought we would lose him last summer. But then you look at how valuable he's been this year yet again, and it's not just his goals, it's his link-up, his movement, the way that he bullies defenders. This is probably the biggest season I've seen him bully teams. And at times he's been ridiculously good, where a back four just can't get close to him, and he was just loving it at times. But yeah, again, it's probably getting to that stage with Alfredo as well now, has he given us everything? Because the one thing we wanted him to do was to lift the league. We're going to see him do that tomorrow. So you do wonder if maybe for Alfredo, it might be the summer where we look to cash in. And a bit like what you're saying, Cammy, it might be that something's already in place. And that's why the club will be working hard behind the scenes to try and make those additions. So I think that's definitely the interesting one. What's that we're saying here? Just put this message up. We have plenty of cover for Helander's position. We should get a good fee for him. I'll come to you first then, Graeme. When you look at Katic, is Katic somebody you would bring into the squad again next year, or do you think it's a matter of loaning the big man out for a season to get some valuable game time?
I think it would be perfect for a squad player, because if we keep Helander, he's first choice, but beside Goldson, we are quite stacked at centre back. So I see what you're saying. Maybe a loan to maybe a championship down in England, a strong league, or even bottom Premier League, if we could get that, would be ideal if we keep all our centre backs. But doing it, you mentioned about Helander leaving, I think that could be a shout actually. I never really thought about that. So Katic would be good enough to come in if we don't sign anyone else.
No, I think that's a very. What about yourself, Scott Young? Do you think Niko could come in and offer as a replacement, or do you just see him as a squad player now?
I just see Katic as a squad player. I think there's a difference in terms of cover, difference in terms of covering bodies and cover in terms of ability. So I think the drop off in ability, we saw that last season between Helander and Katic, was pretty big. I think when Helander wasn't in the team and it was Katic, I think that's when we saw our tail off in January. And then, so yeah, I think I'd probably sell Katic, probably wouldn't loan him. I'd look to sell him, because we don't know how his ACL injury is going to affect him out for a year. May as well sell him now before giving him games, realising he's not the same centre half and maybe getting half the fee we could have gotten if we sell him now. So I'd look to sell Katic and then get options of Golson, Helander, Balogun and Simpson at centre half, and I think those four are more than good enough.
Right. Yeah, well, that's an interesting one with Katic, but I think the only concern, and I'll come to you, Cammy, would somebody pay good money for Katic, given that he's missed basically a full year of football?
I would be surprised, to be honest with you. I think it's this is where you wish you knew what was going on in Ross Wilson's head, sort of situation. because if Connor Golson doesn't sign an extension and Connor Golson leaves, you're not going to sell Helander, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got a central defensive partnership that's hardly conceded any goals. You're not going to let both of them leave in the same summer. So it's tricky. Niko, I think they're just going to have to be patient with him with regard to obviously the recovery from his injury. I think a loan, possibly. I think we would want to keep him for the first half of the season, and I think if he's not getting any opportunities, I think maybe a loan for the second half of the season. I think Rangers will want to keep him within the training ground and try to continue his sort of rehab and recovery. That would be for me. But if Golson stays, then I think like you rightly said, William, I think you can recruit a starting centre half within Ross Wilson's list of replacements sort of thing. You know what I mean? I think Golson's the one, very much like Tav. I mean, it only feels like 5 minutes ago I was on a pod at the start of the year and we were talking about Tav and talking about Golson, how it was so important for them to extend, and obviously the captain's extended. And Golson, for me, does look very, very happy. But it's a bit like Barisic. One big contract left, maybe one last opportunity to get back down south. He's never really had the opportunity to play because he was obviously because his heart condition. So you know, it's if Golson stays, I could see Helander going.
Right, we'll just fire another wee question up that's come in. One of the guys, RFC 55, saying, looking forward to seeing Sakala. Wonder if he'll play up front or in the wing. Right, Scott Young, since you know so much about Sakala, mate, tell me where he's going to play for Rangers.
I think, put us on the spot here, I reckon he'll be more of a right wing cover than a striker cover.
Right,
because I think we've got 4 strikers. We've got Morelos, Defoe. At the moment, don't know who'll stay and who'll go. We've got Morelos, Defoe, Itten and Roof. And I don't think we need 5 strikers. But on the right wing, we've got Aribo. Hadji can do a job there, but I prefer Hadji more centrally. So I think Sakala is more likely to play on the right than up front or on the left. Maybe even the left as a Ryan Kent cover. Although we've got John Jones coming back. Who knows what's going to happen with him. So he can play anywhere along the front 3, and I think he can do a job anywhere in any of those positions. But personally, I'd like to see more on the right. So I think we've got this quality there that we do in the other 2 positions.
Right, Graeme, I'll come to you since you're the second most knowledgeable person on Sakala. Do you think he'll play wide or through the middle?
They've just gone with the YouTube clips that I've watched. Be listening to the pod with the guy for Scots Abroad came on and spoke. I think he's more an inside forward for the left.
Right, okay.
Coming in and shooting with his right foot. So I think he'll be kind of Kent cover, or maybe, as I said earlier, maybe a 2 up front off Morelos, hopefully, type thing. Just when Scott mentioned there, Jordan Jones in that, people forget we've got players like Jones, Edmondson, Parker, and players like that we could sell and make money off, and that could cover selling a big player as well, plus their wages and stuff. That's a thought as well.
No, that's definitely. I think once the season's done, we'll definitely have a good look at who's going to go one way, who's coming in. Because I think when you look at the size of the squad, when everybody actually returns in the summer, it's actually a pretty substantial size squad we've got. And one of the big things Ross Wilson was always talking about was working with a certain size of squad. So there's clearly going to be some movement in the summer because players will need to move. Because if you're going to begin, say, 4 or 5 players, there's got to be probably at least maybe 6 or 7 going out. And that doesn't include the guys who might go out and loan, some of the younger guys that are between the Colts team and the first team. So there's the kind of guys that need to go out as well. Right, Cammy, I'll come to you last since you're the third most knowledgeable person on Sakala.
I think I haven't, other than seen bits and pieces. He looks as though he's rapid. To be honest with you, he looks as though he's going to add a bit of pace to the front line, no matter where he plays. I think potentially playing his best football, from what I can gather, has been playing in a 2. So it'll be interesting. We obviously played against that lot a few weeks ago with Roof and Morelos as the sort of 2 strikers. I think it's one of those. I think we've got the flexibility to play a variety of formations. I think horses for courses. I don't think initially he'll be a first name on the team sheet starting player. I think we'll want to have a look at him, but certainly with Roof's suspension and the Champions League qualifiers, he's going to get the opportunity to show what he's got on that stage, sort of thing. And I think away from home in Europe, I think he could be good on the counter attack with his pace, getting in behind. Going on to the point Graeme was making about, I think it was Graeme, I'm not sure who said about the players coming back. I don't expect any of those players, Jones, Edmondson or Barker, to be part of the plans moving forward, whether that's permanent contracts or loans. I would love to see Kai Kennedy, Josh McPake and Stephen Kelly come back from loans and become part of that 24-25 first team squad sort of thing. That's the whole point of Pathway. I don't think any of the three kids would actually benefit from any more loans. I think they're now approaching that stage where they need to come back to Rangers and show what they've got pre-season, and they can supplement the squad. Whereas the likes of Jones, Barker, who's the other one, Edmondson, we're talking probably 20 grand a week between the three.
Yeah.
Weekly wage.
Popped a wee question up there.
Right, before you come to that question, Willie, because people put comments in, and when they put comments in, they're going to see this beautiful face.
We just disappear again.
Do you know what? I'm actually quite enjoying this. I don't need to do any of the hosting, and I can just jump in with a few comments every now and then. We've got Spongy 76. Can't wait for tomorrow. Long time coming. Crack open a bottle of RFC 55 vodka. Let's go. We have Michael Sharon, who says most right wings can play on the left or in a number 10 role. And there's two questions, Willie. One that you just put up, but there's two questions I want you to answer. Right, the first one is where does Scott Wright fit in? Because I think he's maybe forgot about Scott Wright when he's were talking about right wingers. And the second question, this could take us well over the hour, right? But the second question is, do you think some deals will be on hold depending on us getting through to the Champions League qualifiers? So that's your two questions. If anybody wants to put any more comments in, then you will get to see this beautiful face again. But until then, bye for now.
Thanks for that, Martin. Really appreciate you jumping into the third time during the pod. I think Scott Wright is obviously somebody that we spoke about several times, I think, since he's come in. Would you play Scott Wright tomorrow just as a kind of, not as a kind of slap in the face to Aberdeen, but just to see him score against Aberdeen, potentially to win the game, Cammy?
I would start with the same 11 that midweek, but I expect him to come off the bench and score maybe the fourth or the fifth goal tomorrow.
Right, Graham, what about yourself, mate? Would you start Scott Wright, or do you not foresee any changes?
I would start him. I'd like to see it, not just to throw it in Aberdeen's face, but I think he deserves another start. And it'll be a good game. Then maybe take him off for a Hadji or something to come on in the last 10-15 minutes.
Scott Young, what about yourself? Would you start Scotty Wright, or do you think we'll just go with the same 11?
I'd probably start him, because I'd probably start players like Defoe, Wright, Eaton, players like that maybe even a Greg Stewart can get a start. Probably not, maybe just come on, because his last game of the season, go unbeaten. Those front three, Scott Wright, Eaton and Defoe, could run Aberdeen riot tomorrow, I feel, because they're back three, back four, back five, wherever they play. It's hopeless, basically. So I reckon give any of them a chance at the Aberdeen defence and they'll run amok. Second choice front three could very easily score. And Scott Wright scoring against Aberdeen was just cherry on the cake for tomorrow.
Yeah, also the other question that was asked there by Martin, who's done a great job all night, was, do you think any of these deals are dependent on us making the Champions League? I'll come to you first, Scott Young.
I'm not sure, because I feel maybe bonuses and that kind of thing will be in the contract, but maybe for players like Goldson and Barisic, as Tammy's been speaking about, last big deal, maybe the choice of going down south or potential Champions League football. If the Champions League football's off the table, then leaves a bit down south. But players like, sort of younger players like a Kamara is mid-20s, players like that, probably I can't really see Champions League qualification having too much of a bearing on them. But maybe like a Golson, a Barisic, who are late 20s, could see maybe potential Champions League. I think it all depends on the player, really, rather than the squad getting the Champions League or not.
Cammy, I'll come back to you. You obviously kind of touched on it maybe 5-10 minutes ago. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's something that's viable? Because the club sort of basically need to plan well ahead before the qualifiers to even consider doing those kind of deals?
I think you win the league this time next year, you're in a different conversation, because I think winning the league then guarantees you 25, 30 million, whatever it may be, from the Champions League. So I think summer of 2022, you don't have to sell MD, but I think there was a shortfall within our business model, finances, whatever you want to call it, prior to COVID, and COVID's only going to have increased that. So I think it would be fantastic. As you said earlier, William, 2 years of Champions League money is a game changer, but I don't think progressing this year will stop a player or players from leaving. I just think it's inevitable that players will leave this summer. Right,
we've had another wee message come in, so I'll come to the guys. Maybe this might be one of the last questions we'll take in, because we said maybe around about an hour was the kind of maximum. Harry Wilson, is he somebody do you think Rangers could afford, Graeme?
I don't think we could afford him permanently, no. But a loan signing, if that's the way we're going to go down, maybe be a great addition. I've seen him play quite a few times for Derby and under Lampard, and he is a good player, exciting player, and he likes to shoot from outside the box, which could add something to Rangers. So I think it'd only be a loan signing if he was coming to Rangers.
Scott Young, see when you look at Harry Wilson, whose position would he take in the team if he was to sign?
I think it's all about rotation, really, because we've seen this season we've played 60 odd games, and if we don't get Champions League, we'll probably get Europa League, so that'll be 60 odd games again. So I think he's a very versatile player, so he could probably play. I think he's more on the right. I think he's more of a 10, but I have seen him playing from the right and cut in. So I think again that's that right hand side of the sort of inside 10, the front three we play. Or if we go to a 4-2-3-1, which we kind of played against Levy, he could play in the hole just behind the striker. Right. But yeah, I think it's not more of a best 11 we've got situation. I think it's more rotation of what game we've played previously, what sort of toll it had, and what game's coming up.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Cammy, come to you last of all over Harry Wilson. What do you think of the kid, and do you think it's viable that Rangers could afford to buy him permanently?
I think he's a very talented lad. I think he's been out on loan a heck of a lot over the last few years. I think I don't see him going back to Liverpool and getting any opportunities there. To be honest with you, I think he's at the stage where he does have to probably move on from Liverpool. But I think they'll be looking for 10, 15 million, I would say, going on what they got for. They managed to steal 20 million for Brewster off Sheffield United. So I think Graham's bang on. I think English, they sort of boys are out of our price range. Talented lads, but I don't think it's an option. And I think a loan would be the only option, but I don't think that's what the player needs. And no. I don't think that's really what Liverpool want. I think he really needs to move on.
And for the final time tonight, you're going to see this beautiful face, because I know that William wanted to wrap it up, but I thought, William, I'm going to give you one more question. I thought I seen something today about Yanis Hadji, but I have been rather busy. But Thomas has asked, would you be happy to sell Hadji if it meant keeping everyone else? And this is obviously the last time you're going to see me tonight, folks. So I just want to say a big thank you to everybody watching, and I really hope you enjoy tomorrow. But guys, answer that last question.
All right, Graeme, we'll come to you first then. Would you sell Yanis Hadji to keep everybody else?
I think so, Short and sweet.
The reason behind that, though, do you think you can lose Yanis to still, score the same amount of goals and create the same amount of goals without Yanis?
I think just because he's never really established himself as a first teamer, so if we let him go to keep everybody else, I think it makes sense. But I love Hadji as a player, and I'd obviously like to see him stay. So, but just going with that question, I would do that.
Yeah, okay. Scotty Young, what about yourself, mate? How do you feel?
I'd keep Hadji personally because I think he's one of the. I think him and Davis and Aribo are our main creative outlets, and Davis is obviously not getting any younger. So I think if Hadji goes, that leaves a lot on Aribo's shoulders in terms of creativity. If he starts in midfield three, creativity from midfield is a big thing, and it just leaves Aribo for the next 2, 3, 4 years to be that creative spark. And Hadji's top assister in the league this season. So I'd probably keep Hadji to sell a Barisic or a Kamara, as we've spoken about earlier.
Right. Cammy, I'll let you have the last word on this one. Would you sell Giannis to keep everybody else?
I would only sell him if a crazy offer came in. I still think there's a lot to come from him. I think it was interesting to see him playing in the deeper midfield position the other night. That's something I would like to see more of in some of the games like that. So it's a big season for him. I think he's had a decent season. I think his numbers have been good. He's contributed at various parts. So to answer the question, no, I wouldn't be selling him. I just wouldn't be selling him, full stop.
Right, we'll just fire this last wee bit up before I maybe have a wee quick chat. Gentlemen, we have come a long way in a drawn out space of time. Truly, we have built a foundation going on. We have tomorrow. Pride, love our club, 55 is Cyprus loyal. Thanks for tuning in, Davey. I really appreciate you taking some time out to listen to the Rabble talking nonsense as we do most times when we're on the pods, because we're passionate Rangers fans just like yourself, mate. Just want to thank everybody. You know, it's been a hell of a season. We obviously started the Rabble up kind of November time. We kind of managed to kind of get the worst guys off Twitter to come on and talk rubbish about Rangers. You know, Cammy as well. You know, we kind of offered him a bribe to come on so that he would come on. And big thanks to guys like Wilf and Ross. Sorry if I've missed out anybody else. Martin's rubbish. I mean, hopefully when we come back next summer we'll have a new host. Somebody better than we've got at the moment. But in all seriousness, thanks very much for all the likes, all the guys that have subscribed to the channel on YouTube, all the likes on Facebook, the guys that follow us on Twitter. I could go on for hours. Just really appreciate that we've started up a pod and there's been so much, you know, kind words and stuff like that put towards us. Hopefully the Bears have a great day tomorrow. We can all celebrate 55 and look forward to 56. So thanks very much, guys. Have a good night. Have a great weekend and we'll see you very soon. Thanks very much.